Well, inevitably, the digital technology is related to the whole phenomenon of the second Gutenberg revolution. And although one talks about it endlessly, and people get bored and their eyes begin to glaze over, it is an enormous, significant phenomenon of which we don't really understand or know the parameters. For, I suppose, my entire career, I've been interested in the manufacture of imagery. And I suppose for the major part of the last, 20 years, I've essentially been concentrating on cinema, and that's sort of analog cinema, pre-digital cinema, which uses its basis, I suppose, the aesthetic technology of CinemaScope. Kodak, only 4 days ago, announced that they're completely closing down their whole celluloid industry and putting all their money into the digital revolution. But when you think that Kodak are responsible for practically the entire manufacture of celluloid, not only in stills photography, not only in movies, but even in things like radiology in hospital, that's an extraordinary step, and really does show how a big company really understands what's really happening just around the corner. I suppose the business of digital film editing has been with us for a long time, such that even major Hollywood talents, though they might still master on celluloid, would, as soon as they can, convert to digital tape technology. And even maybe because of the slowness and the incredible reactionary situation of cinemas, cinema's always been a very slow-moving medium. There is a way that all this tape then, stupidly, has to be converted back to celluloid, a total waste of time. But I think now, finally, we can make steps that doesn't happen, so that we master on HD, for example, until the technology gets better. We certainly edit on HD, and we certainly project on HD. So for me, it is an absolute ideal medium. I feel now we can all have the confidence of becoming Picassos. As always, it'll be the singer, not the song. As always, it'll be the imagination rather than the tool. But the tools now are giving us extraordinary opportunities to do amazing things. And I think my prime interest has always been aesthetics, so what really fascinates me now is the philosophy of the digital revolution. Not the nuts and bolts, not the numbers on the back of the camera, not the gauging of the quality of light, but what it actually means in the biggest possible sense. Well, in a sense, I've often argued that old-fashioned cinema had 4 tyrannies which it had to overcome. The tyranny of the frame. The digital revolution can easily break the frame. The tyranny of text. We don't necessarily have to have a text-based film industry anymore, which of course we have had for 108 years. The tyranny of the actor is another problem that ought to be dealt with in another area, but perhaps most relative to your question is the tyranny of the camera. We can now do away with the camera, which is an extraordinary and heretical and almost blasphemous potential. But if you take 2 famous quotations, Picasso said, "I paint what I think, not what I see." And Eisenstein, the greatest film director who's ever existed, suggested that Walt Disney and all he stood for was the most successful filmmaker because he started from ground zero. So now we get rid of the camera and we start from ground zero, and that's only possible. And you can imagine what a revolution that would be because of the digital revolution. I'm not sure, really, because I have tried very hard to use every platform I can to proselytize what I think is fascinating and interesting. I want to certainly be able to make a product that makes the greatest demonstration of how important this revolution is, but with the film I come along as well, and I've given the opportunity to verbalize and articulate my enthusiasms. That must be part of it. What sort of returns I would get depends very largely, I think, on the audience. If they're an audience of whiz kids who are just interested in nuts and bolts, then probably the return is quite minimal. But if I can debate seriously about some of the questions we've already touched upon, then that will encourage and increase, I think, my enthusiasm and also my greater understanding of what we all think we're trying to do.